Good evening and welcome to Special Assignment. I'm your host, Ashraf Garda. Last week, the Public Protector, Thuli Madonsela, launched a national stakeholder consultative dialogue on the regulatory challenges regarding the illegal conversion of panel vans into taxis. Now, you may remember, Special Assignment investigated this very issue a few weeks ago. Dozens of people have died, allegedly in accidents related to these unsafe taxis, while many taxi owners have lost their livelihoods as they realize these vehicles cannot pass a roadworthy test. Now, in part two of the story, we look at the role Toyota South Africa and its financial arm, Toyota Financial Services, played in this whole saga. This report by Peter Moyo.
This is Lucas Mowohlane. He is a taxi owner in Hammanskraal, northwest of Johannesburg. At 68 years of age, he had hoped for a quiet and peaceful retirement. But all that is now in tatters. In fact, he might soon lose his home.
Bathi mina fanele bazoathasha la ekhaya mina ngifile ukubhatala imoto zabo and bam blacklistile and then mangafile ngabhatele bazoathasha imizamo.
Summonses have already started to arrive. After 4 decades in the business, he cannot explain how things went so horribly wrong.
Kunjalo impilo yami fanele iphile ke blacklisted. I'm sure nasenkulu phezulu nakhona bam blacklistile angingena mangifile angingena phezulu.
So kugile phela.
Mangifile angingena phezulu kara. Ngiri blacklisted tot up.
It all dates back to the year 2005 when Lucas decided to trade in his old fleet of 9 taxis during the government-sponsored taxi recapitalization program.
Ngasithenga bathini bangiconvertele zona enye bathi mina ke ngoyiconverta bona bhatala bona. Mate ngazisa lapha bangithumele khona yaconvert enye ke thole sebayiconvertile. So mina ngasithatha kayise endleleni kayise wet road with was roadworthy masicede ku roadworthy la sifaka endleleni sasebenza.
Lucas approached several dealerships where he was sold illegally converted Toyota Quantum panel vans. These would be fitted with windows and seats to make it look like a bona fide taxi. They would then be sold for almost twice the price.
Banjele wantikisa new car and ngisebenze ngaso ngisebenza new cars bathe ngakuthi government ofuna scrap ema i20 namathapha welebe sinawo dan sithengela ama Toyota Quantums senza njalo sathenga sasebenza ukanenkinga nekusebenza but isikhathi masihamba ngibone se amaphoyisa asibamba
especially Makati. Walter Masike was the chairman of Stink Vatre Taxi Association, which validated Lucas' finance application. He also joined in and was sold similarly converted panel vans.
I found that vehicle, a small panel van, grey in color, new, parked inside Makati Volkswagen Gezina, without seats. 2 days after, he called me. I went to fetch a vehicle, completely converted with seat. Its CF was saying 16 passengers, including the driver.
Some of Lucas' finance was approved through Toyota Financial Services. This at a time when Toyota South Africa had recently sent a warning against the financing of these converted panel vans.
I can see like in one of the letters it says 8,700 for steps.
Yeah, iyo imali ya convert ekoloni.
And in another letter again they say I'm a Mac wheels. Did you ever buy a car with Mac wheels worth 18,000?
Nothing. I can't next Mac wheel, next just my carbon rims, my rim.
So did these banking institutions knowingly finance these illegally converted taxis? Masike says application requirements clearly show they knew.
The requirement he was looking for was my copy of ID, letter from the association, taxi association, my 3 months bank statement, proof of income, my taxi permit, which I'm going to use for this very same taxi I'm looking for.
in time ke aksan dijo aksaneng he ke ja ka tseba rena story king ke rekile logistics right and bona ba mpotsa na ke di rekile ke di sha testing ke di convert ba di converter ke di tsaya ke di tsentja line di bereka ka di operating license tsa tsona everything tsa tsona le switching tsa tsona then in time ke ra logistics.
To explain further, we approached Henny De Beer, himself a former bank executive. He says the banks should have picked up the red flags in the application from the start.
The equivalent, this is for Kile, was selling at that point in time for 214,600 Rand. Now, surely, when the bank actually get that documentation in and they see, but this taxi is way above, they should ask the questions. But the people chase money, it's production, it's high volumes, yes, fantastic, sign the deal off, and you know, we will sit back, and if the customer's got a complaint, we'll just shrug him off.
I've never converted those panel vans on my own.
And you never paid?
I've never paid for conversions. All these banks knew very well that these vehicles, these panel vans, are going to be used as taxi, because they did requested a copy of my permit, so that, and my income statement strictly shows them that this guy's is making money, profit with taxis. So there is nowhere they can maybe dodge a point that they've sold me panel vans without knowing that I'm going to use it as a taxi.
Masike also explains that to further protect themselves, financial institutions would collude with the dealerships to hide conversion costs in fictitious extras.
He make as if there are other extras which were put in the vehicle, like radio, bull bar, and the like, of which those things were not in that vehicle. So that just to add some money on the total amount to cover the process of conversion.
It was not long before traffic authorities pounced. Lucas' dream was starting to unravel.
Sibereke about 2.5 years, no problem. Mas ba pete munyago 3, then we start a problem kuna bamba. Ba tshwara kolo ya ke 1. Ka sokola for 2 months. Ka ithole kolile mara I'm telling you patel. Na tsona lessons but I'm telling you.
Mine were impounded in by the provincial traffic department, saying that these are panel vans, they cannot convey passengers.
Banks have failed to secure their risk. They rely on the dealer's word, and yes, that is where the problems originated.
So does Lucas Mogotlani and many others have any legal recourse? Answers in a moment.
Since the promulgation of the National Credit Act a few years ago, a shortage of legal expertise in the field has been raised. On the other hand, lawyers like Robin Zimmerman have seen a gap in the market. She has since taken on the banks on the issue of financing of these illegal panel vans.
The bank knows what the facts are. They know that these vehicles were not capable of being converted. They know that the money was recklessly lent. It's an unlawful product. They should have called back those vehicles as soon as they became aware of it, because not only because of the reckless lending aspect, but because it is a danger. The accidents that have occurred, the deaths that have occurred on the roads because of the illegal transport of passengers on these vehicles is horrific.
On any other day, Robin is kept busy by her more than 100 taxi clients in the same predicament.
The banks don't negotiate. We will see what happens in court, but they haven't negotiated as of yet satisfactorily to compensate the consumers for what they've been through.
People like Lucas Mohotlane, whose life is now ruined, are now seeking legal advice from her.
Bam blacklistile bathi bad payer angibhadala mangathele ngqolo ngekuphi kofuna isikhorhoshana sisebenzele abantwana blacklisted.
I've been blacklisted. Now all the banks deny all my applications to purchase any vehicle. I've got 2 vehicles. One is repossessed, one is just standing in the yard.
Robin is already busy with their cases, citing issues of defamation and damages against the banks.
Most of the consumers have been blacklisted. They can't now earn an income as they did before. So there would be the loss of income that we take into consideration. They trade on their names. So there's also that aspect of damages that also needs to be considered.
In our last program, we brought you Henny de Beer and his tenacious fight against financial institutions. 3 years later, he's still resolute.
For many years, they've been raking in billions of rand. And there's many individuals that has, in the process, been destroyed for these banks to build up these empires. And again, I say, it is very expensive. It's actually impossible to take a bank to a court. They have got the best legal advice that money can buy.
He claims he has already approached Toyota South Africa before and is disappointed in the way they have handled the issue of the illegal conversions.
I went to Toyota head office myself and I spoke to the senior executive there. I've showed them the pictures and they were very friendly and they were so nice and everything. And Peter, everything just faded out. Why? Maybe because they were already at that point in time so deep in that, rather keep quiet, let's hope this whole thing is going to disappear.
Over the years, he has tried to negotiate with the banks, and he recalls one such meeting attended by taxi owners with Toyota Financial Services way back in 2009.
It was an aggressive trend from the start. I tried to explain to them that there's photographs of these accidents. They claim that photographs can be manipulated. They don't want to even look at those photographs. They don't believe it. And yes, the fact that there's a structural problem with the vehicle, surely they just said, it's not our problem at that point in time.
We put the allegations to Toyota Financial Services. Advocate Thabo Manaka, a general manager with the company, was there to answer.
I don't think there was any threat. I think first and foremost, I need to indicate that I was not in the meeting. But I think the basis of that meeting was to say, look, we understand there's a problem with this vehicle.
They spoke to the customers, they asked them what do they expect, and the customer said, we want to be put in a position we were before we entered the agreement. The guy said, forget about it. You will never.
I still remember he told Mr. de Beer in front of us that tell these guys of yours, they will never get anything from us. So you better leave, because we have signed the contract to purchase the vehicle. We can't entertain your issue that the vehicle are not safe. Go and make them safe.
And then he turned to me and says, in your case, if you want to take us on, the Toyota Financial Services, as a matter of fact, the word that they used, their lawyer, is if you want to take on FNB, they've got deep pockets. They can destroy you financially. And Peter, they almost succeeded. I must be honest. It was not long thereafter I got my first summons from them. Directed somewhere at Henny de Beer, not even via Lucas Mogotlane. And yes, I had to defend it. It was not easy. It was not easy.
What came out of that meeting was to tell them that, look, you need to continue to honor your obligations because there are ramifications. You may be blacklisted. I don't think it was the basis of the banks and financial institutions saying, just threatening them with legal action.
Coming up, we confront Toyota on these issues.
The taxi recapitalization program launched in 2005 was meant to usher in a safe and reliable public transport system. A new vehicle, the 13-seater Toyota Quantum Sesfigile, epitomized that goal. But not long after, wheels seemed to be coming off.
Following the recent media reports that illegally converted panel vans which do not meet government safety standards were being operated as minibus taxis, we in the Department of Transport immediately initiated an investigation into this matter.
Syndicates within and outside government worked in partnership to convert panel vans into taxis. These were sold for almost double the price. It was against this background that Toyota South Africa issued its first warning against this practice in 2005. The warning was sent to all dealerships and financial institutions. However, we now have evidence that Toyota's financing arm, Toyota Financial Services, did finance dozens of these vehicles. Our investigations put the illegal vehicles financed by Toyota at 419. However, the company admits that it financed these vehicles, but they reduced the figure to only 39.
We were aware of
Advocate Thabo Manaka was there to answer our questions.
the fact that these vehicles, at that time, some of the dealerships or the MIBs, being the motor industry body converters, had what seemed at that time to be legitimate or authentic certificates issued by the Bureau of Standards and government to say that they can homologate some of these vehicles or they can convert those vehicles. So on the basis of that, financial institutions then contracted or financed some of these vehicles because there were letters that were authentic at that time.
A letter to the Department of Transport employee shows that Toyota was against any conversion of any sort on the panel vans. So why would its financial arm, which he had access to the original Toyota Quantum Sesfigile taxi, decide to finance a converted vehicle to serve the same purpose?
We financed the vehicles on the basis that some of them were sold as panel vans, but others that we subsequently found out that were financed as panel vans were converted. At that time, we did not know that the conversions of the panel vans to normal taxi operating vehicles was illegal.
In a subsequent letter to various stakeholders, Toyota is unequivocal in its opposition to the conversion of the panel van. Was this just double-speak to protect itself against possible future litigation? Did they do enough homework to verify the authenticity of the letters produced by body converters?
It would appear that those letters were not as legitimate as we thought. But that is for the role of government to sort out and to tell us if the letters that were issued at that time were authentic or not.
Where does this leave people like Lucas Moohlane, who tried to reach out to Toyota after realizing the illegality of the vehicles they had been sold?
The nature of the vehicle finance agreement does not make it illegal. There will still be obligations by the customer and by the bank or the financial institution. It is the usage of that vehicle that makes it illegal.
The financing of the panel van is both reckless in terms of the product being an unlawful product, in that it was converted without the permission of with permission of Toyota.
After financing his 4 converted panel vans, Manaka seems to be doing an about 10 on his earlier version. He now says that Lucas Moohlane's finance was for other purposes.
The applications that Mr. Moohlane brought to us, or that he made, clearly indicated that he was self-employed and then he was going to use the vehicles for running his tavern. And we cannot then, on that basis, say Mr. Moohlane cannot buy a panel van.
But Lucas Moohlane's Taxi Association argues that Toyota Financial Services had called to confirm if he was a bona fide taxi owner before each finance application was approved.
The bank or Toyota Financial Services phoned you to confirm if Mr. Moohlane was part of your association?
Exactly. I did so. By that time, I was a chairperson, and all those recommendations were done by me.
When government announced retrofitments to the panel vans to make them safer in 2010, Toyota refused to endorse the process. Yet its financing arm, Toyota Financial Services, wanted its customers to join the process.
It was on the basis of the suggestion and recommendation made through NDOT and the functional committees that these vehicles can be retrofitted.
So you believed in the retrofitment?
We did not believe in retrofitment, but government and SABS believed that the retrofitments could work.
But
And
why did you want your customers to go for retrofitments if you didn't believe in it?
it's not our belief, it's government that, as the regulatory authority, professes whether the vehicle meets certain requirements.
After realizing that dealerships had provided false documentation for the converted panel van, Toyota Financial Services could also have enforced the master dealer agreement. This forces the dealer to refund the institution for vehicles which are illegal or are not fit for the purpose they are sold for.
You have a master dealer agreement which you don't seem to be exercising very well.
But we do not advertise that we're going to exercise any of our rights within the master
So many
agreement.
years you have not done anything. What you have basically done was to shoot your own customer, blacklist him. You have sent him summons to actually attach his property now. Isn't that a shame?
Not necessarily. It's not a shame because we are exercising our rights according to the finance agreement.
Even if you know the vehicles were illegal,
Look, at the time of
where
the,
you can actually exercise the master dealer agreement so that you can actually refund.
the issue of the master dealer agreement is an internal matter, and it's a matter between the financial institution and the dealership.
Yeah, but it talks about the customer, the refund to the customer as well, which you
I am
seem
not-
not to be doing very well.
I'm not certain whether Mr. Mohotlane made representation to any of those dealers and what the outcome was.
After 3 years, things seem to be looking up for Henny De Beer. His relentless fight on behalf of the taxi owners is now a subject of investigation by the public protector.
They do understand. They've seen the photographs. It has been a long, long road. You know, I've been 3 years on my own fighting this, and it just feels like I've got an ally on my side. Thanks to Robin, the lawyer, and the positive attitude from the public protector, I can see a light at the end of the tunnel.
Seats completely loose. Wrong material, fastening material used. No tightening brackets, no support. That's why these seats is ripping out already like this out of the floor without even having an accident. The vehicle is not fit.
Now, we'll be airing part 3 into this investigation soon, where we will be taking a closer look at the regulatory failures within the Department of Transport. Now, what are your views on this issue? You can comment via Twitter, email or Facebook, and I'll do a follow-up on my SAFM radio show that's on Friday at 2:30 p.m. Now, a look at your comments on last week's show, which stirred up very heated responses on the tensions between farmers and local communities in the Piet Retief area. Priya Duplessis commented on Facebook, what about the 3,000 farmers who were brutally killed this year alone? Where were their rights to live free? Who is unhuman now? And Amanda Mkize commented, said indeed, the injustice is beyond human nature. God heal our land and restore humanity. Well, that's it for tonight. Join us again next week when we point out the issues that matter.